Welcome to Fun and Games Side Quests. Every episode is a different host sharing a video game they love and why they love it.
What's up, everybody, and welcome to a new episode of Side Quests. I'm your host this week, Luke Lewis, host of the Lukewarm Games podcast. I'm excited to be back. Last time I talked about Concrete Genie, and I'm here today to talk about another one of my favorite games. It's called Unpacking. It was developed by Witchbeam and published by Humble Games, released on November 1st, 2021. And it was one of my favorite games of last year. I absolutely adored this game. It's available on Xbox, PlayStation, Switch, and PC. I played it on my PC at the time. It was available on Xbox Game Pass. And just what a delightful, delightful game. It is the pure definition of a pleasant surprise to me. I went in knowing very little about the game other than people described it as a really pleasant experience, a really delightful experience. And when it comes to the indie game scene, delightful, wonderful, relaxing, those are all wonderful kind of recommendations for me. So if I hear those words, I'm in. I'm willing to check it out, and especially with Game Pass being such a low barrier to entry, it's an easy one to jump into. So I remember the first night I played the game, I installed it, and I thought I had about 30 minutes before I was going to head to bed for the night after a day of work, and I'll just check this out, see what's up. And I was completely engrossed in the game. I ended up playing for, I think, over 2 hours that night and got very little sleep before work, but it was very worth it. I was very engaged the whole time. So to just give a quick setup to what the game is, and then I can get into some of my personal experience with the game. Unpacking is a narrative-based puzzle game where you are unpacking, pun intended. You're unpacking your life and experiencing a narrative of your character over the course of their lives, and there's no dialogue, there's no interactions in a traditional narrative sense, but you are unpacking boxes and items from throughout different parts of your character's life. It starts in early childhood as you unpack their bedroom and progresses through different stages of their life. And for the first couple minutes of discussion here, I won't get into specific spoilers for the game, because if you haven't played it, I absolutely recommend you do so. It is an incredible experience, but it is a very satisfying gameplay loop, which sounds so strange because similar to, I think, a Power Wash simulator earlier this year, on paper, unpacking things does not sound like a fun, exciting gameplay loop. But for someone who, like me, I love to de-stress by cleaning and organizing and just kind of tidying up so that I can relax and kind of feel an inner peace. It just is a meditative act for me. I think this game, Unpacking, taps into that in a great way of, you have the choice to unpack these items and place them throughout the environment. And in order to progress in the game, you have to put everything away. And you can kind of choose how meticulous you want to be and where things go, but everything has to be put away. And I just found great satisfaction in organizing things. There's a level where there's a bunch of DVDs and GameCube games, and the level of graphical fidelity that they went to in this wonderful pixel art style to fully realize these items was really fun. And I just had a great time organizing these items and putting them away and exploring the different environments. And like I said, the narrative is so engrossing in that as you unpack these items throughout the course of your character's life, you're seeing certain items again, you're seeing their surroundings change, and it's just really relatable. I think we've all moved in our lives. We've all gone through living situations that maybe weren't ideal. We've moved into new places that, brightened up our life and our spirits. And I think this game just encapsulates that vibe so well. And like I said, the rather meditative, relaxing nature of the gameplay just really, really adds to that experience. So I'll cut it off there for spoiler-free discussion, but if you haven't played Unpacking, I highly, highly recommend it. It's only about 4 hours long, which is, I think, the wonderful sweet spot for a great indie game. but just an absolutely delightful, relaxing, meditative, beautiful experience, and one of the best narratives I've ever experienced in a game, with so little direct interaction between the player. Like, it's all things you're experiencing firsthand and putting the narrative together as you go through amazing environmental storytelling. So I'll leave it there for spoiler free. If you have played Unpacking and you want to hear my thoughts, stick with me. I'm going to get into some of my favorite moments in the game. But so to get specifically into the narrative, spoiler warning abound. I just adored how this game tackled real issues and tough subjects and things like relationships and dealing with moving and starting a family, and the way, in human nature, when we move, we're forced to get rid of items and keep items, and the way the narrative uses items, like special items to the player character as a through line to the game. For example, the stuffed pig in the game is a through line in the game that later is represented in the children's book that your main character ends up writing, and you can see from the early childhood that your character is very into art, which then turns into digital art in college, which then turns into their whole office professional studio space as an adult, and then culminating with that children's book that has the pig and the tiger on the cover representing your character and their partner's childhood stuffed animals that were on the bed when they moved in together. Just the little intricate details of environmental storytelling throughout this game are so well done and so well realized, and this game got a ton of accolades around Game of the Year season within the narrative category. I believe at the BAFTAs they won for a best narrative, and I was just so excited because I just thought this was such a special game, and the way the story was told, there was just so much emotion and so much heart conveyed through these little moments. Another standout obviously is the moment where you're trying to find a place for the diploma in the first apartment with the shitty boyfriend, and the only place the diploma will fit is under the bed. And it kind of, to me, it symbolized like this relationship isn't going to work. This person doesn't value your character, and they're not giving your character the space they deserve. And I just thought that was really poignant. And once again, nothing is told to you explicitly. This is all told through environmental storytelling as you're piecing together the apartment and trying to fit everything in different places. And then ultimately it comes full circle later in the game where you move in with your partner that you start a family with, and then everything fits. There's room for everything, and you have this beautiful living space and this beautiful life, and they welcome a child into the world, and you're unpacking the nursery, and it just gets me every time. I cried. It is truly beautiful, and for such a simple game in terms of like overall scope and execution, it's not a technical marvel. It is a simple puzzle game that does so much more than a lot of games in the AAA space, I would argue, and I just think it's really remarkable what Witchbeam did with Unpacking, and I can't say enough about it. I want to talk about a couple other elements in addition to the narrative that I really enjoyed. Like I said, the art style is so well realized, and the level of detail on the DVD cases and the GameCube games and the different items and the little souvenir tchotchkes and all the items that are just a through line throughout the game and the experience, I think are really special. I also think the music is really well done. It just takes you into this state of Zen mode. As someone who likes to meditate, I've meditated to the soundtrack because it's really peaceful and nice. And I don't know if I talked about the sound design, but I want to talk about the sound design because it is also really special of, the click as you put a DVD on the shelf, or you set something down on the toilet lid versus on the kitchen counter, and how that sounds different than when you set something down on the bed. And just like the attention to detail, and once again, this very simple game in execution, I just think is really spectacular. I'm glancing at my notes just to think of anything I'm missing, because I could talk about this game for a long time just because I think it is so unique, it is so special, it is so different in what it accomplishes. Yeah, I can't recommend this game enough. I found every second beautiful. I was engaged the entire time. It is very addictive. In the best way, it is very relaxing, and I think it is one of the most satisfying game narrative experiences I've ever had. So please go play Unpacking from Witchbeam, developed by Humble Games. Highly, highly, highly recommend. If you enjoyed my little spiel about Unpacking, you can check out my podcast, Lukewarm Games, on all major podcasting platforms. You can follow me at Lukewarm Lewis on Twitter. Thank you so much for having me. And of course, happy gaming.
Hey there, Screen Beans. Have you heard about Screen Snark?
Rachel, this is an ad break. They aren't screen beans until they listen to the show.
Fine. Potential Screen Beans. You like movies and TV shows, right?
I mean, who doesn't? Screen Snark is a casual conversation about the movies and television shows that are shaping us as we live our everyday lives.
That's right, Matt. We have a chat with at least one incredible guest every episode, hailing from all walks. We've interviewed chefs,
Writers, costumers, musicians,
yoga teachers, comedians, burlesque dancers,
folks in the film and TV industry,
and more.
We'd be delighted for you to join us every other Monday on the Certain POV Podcast Network.
Or wherever you get your podcasts, fresh and tasty off the presses.
What? That's not...
Can I call them Screen Beans now?
Fine.
Screen Beans!
So tune in and we'll see you at the movies or on a couch somewhere.
'Cause you're all Screen Beans now.
CPOV. CertainPOV.com.